I'm live. I'm live. Live chat. And here we are again. Yesterday I spent half the day in the jacuzzi, swimming pool. I'm going to do the same today. But it's about 12:30, so I thought it's not too late in the afternoon, not too early. Anna, how you doing, girl? Have you gone to my xratted.blogspot.com and checked out my writing? I'd love your feedback on that. And you can get a hold of me at the Dude Awake 42 at Gmail, right? That's where you can get a hold of me. I'm pretty good. I'm heading back to the school where John Boy is. And John has, I don't know if you know John Boy. That's where I first became aware of YouTube. And he captured a number of my stories without him telling me. And then I became a thing. I don't know him. Okay. Anyway, so he's an interesting guy. And that's a whole nother story. And the more, if you go, have you gone and looked at any of the other YouTubes I've done of the almost 600, if not more, at this channel? I've gone and kind of just thrown a dart at it and said, look at that. Anyway, and have you seen the few little images I sent? I will, but okay. Good. So what's, my last thing is, what do you want to say, Lana? And what do you want out of life? And what do you want to do with the cadre? We have 18 months. We're today is Mother's Day, mutters Day. I've tried to mean German because I am German. I am Irish, Italian, German. I'm half Italian. So how it works is mama. Yes. My brain is German. My heart is Irish, and everything below my diaphragm is Italian. I love to dance. I love to eat. I love La Dolce Vita. I love making everyone happy, and especially women. My first wife said that I was the best lesbian that she ever had. And even though I put on a few years, I'm like a fine wine. I just age. I'm not like a galloping Bob. I'm like smooth. Let's see. That is so weird. What does it mean? Who knows? This stuff just comes out of my mouth. So tell me about you, Lana. Like I said, there's enough YouTubes up there where you can get a pretty good idea of me. Yep. Like, what floats your boat? What is what's passionate? I'm a real Aquarian. So what makes an Aquarian is someone who loves to co-create with others. Meaning, when I do stuff by myself, it's more or less just for edification, interest, that. But when I make things with other people, no matter what it is, that's when I really get passionate, excited. I am on YouTube. Here we are on YouTube together, co-creating. And we are really at an interesting place, Lana. We have this 18-month window to truly change the friggin' world. Our world is always changing moment by moment. The co-creation of love's co-creation is nonstop. That's why we're here. Humans are I was talking to an interesting young man. He wasn't that young, but a guy who I'm at this hotel, and it's right in this crossroad place. And the guy who owns it is a buddy of mine, and he lets me stay here. and gives me a good, gives me a suite with a jacuzzi, and a nice big, one of those great foamy kind of beds and a jacuzzi over there and a great shower and a swimming pool. Can't beat this place, right? And Chinese food delivered relatively inexpensively. And at breakfast, I have pretty good breakfast. I get up early and I stay there and talk to people who come here. And was a guy who was a really interesting guy who obviously he had his Masonic ring on, and it was, I don't think he was a 33, but he was up there. And we had a really interesting conversation because I kept telling him things and he would go, And he would tell me things and, And I gave him the rip about the 18 months that there's really this opportunity. And Donald Trump is within the context of the historical corporate structure, which is all of time. I mean, every religion is a corporation. Every government's a corporation. Everything is monetary. That's all it is, because that's the essence of the illusion of the Luciferian world. Yeah. Keep talking always. Yep. But I listen too. And that is the main thing about a conversation. You have to listen. You can't just blah, 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 hear yourself talk. But, Didn't he get voted by women? Right, white women. But see, the thing is, every electoral cycle has nothing to do with the people who are voting. It's all a manipulation. It's a scam. Donald Trump, he keeps going on about fake news and it's a setup and it's a witch hunt. Well, that's exactly, he's right. He's just not going deep enough. He wants to go on and get rid of the deep state. Well, look who he got Bolton and what's his name as his Secretary of State, and Mnuchin as his Treasury, the guy who caused the frigging 2008 collapse. His whole government is deep state. So, and where he comes from, I wouldn't doubt if Donald Trump's brain is wired MK Ultra, and he thinks he's on the set of the Apprentice. He thinks he's still in a TV show, which he is. And his presence has been a great distraction while folks behind the scene have been taking things apart. Don't know the spelling. Well, you know what spelling is, Alana? It's a spell. That's why I want you to go read my stuff at xratted.blogspot, and then get a hold of me at the Dude Awake 42 at Gmail. Then we can have a more personal conversation. But the chorus is lining up now. There's two big folks, two great people, Lana and Sarah. Sarah, do you know Lana, Sarah, Lana? Two beautiful women, two brilliant women, two women who are Homo sapiens sapien. Men, women, they're the same. Women are just smarter than men. Right? And the more guys are women have been who brought me up. Women, my grandma brought me up. All the grandmas in her circle brought me up. All my main mentors have been woman who saved my life at birth, Dr. Teresa. I find women way more responsible, way more intelligent, way more brave, way more physical. I was part of a thing called the Harvard Color Study. And what it was it was sponsored by DOD they were making jet fighters, especially for the Navy, more and more expensive. Instead of costing $200,000 or $300,000, then a couple million, then now they're like, 20, F-22 is, $500 million. So they didn't want them, and these guys were constantly screwing them up. So they found that women's plumbing worked much better with the G-forces than guys. All their blood goes straight to their Johnson, where women, it kind of goes all over the body. So most of it stays up in their brain. Guys are always, I got to kick your ass. But when they get into, oh, mommy, women kind of cry before they jump in the airplane, but then are going to kill your ass, right? So I've always found women way better. When I had a business, I always employed women because they were way smarter than guys. Guys would screw up all the time and never learn from their mistake. Women, on the other hand, would always come to me and go, so how do you want this done? So what are we doing here? And they'd have a bunch of really good questions. I'd answer them. They go up and do it. They looked better, smelled better, acted better, were more responsible, more intelligent. Women. So Mother's Day shouldn't be one friggin' day of the year. It should be all year long. Let's see. Anytime you see the duality, you know it's fake, right? It is. Why? I know rather just right how you say it, but shucks. Wow. Yo, Sarah. Mother theirs. Yep. Yeah, it's a battle lost some time ago. No, see, women didn't lose the battle. Back in the Greek states, the most powerful Greek state there was the guys that started with an S. Not Sagittarians, not Sumerians, those guys, whoever they were a matriarchy. The biggest, baddest military force was a matriarchy. Women ran the show. What was it? Greek state starts with an S. Anyway, they ran the show. Sorry, gotta go. Happy everything, babe. Stay in touch. Remember, get a hold of me at thedudeawake42@gmail and go read my writings. xratted.blogspot.com. To go, unfortunately, exactly. A muthers work is never done. Everyone has a great day celebrating. And this mutter, I'm going to try again. I kind of spent the whole evening in the jacuzzi last night, so I was such a putty boy. I couldn't get up and drag myself to the keyboard. I just kind of dried off and went to bed. I love that bed because the bed I've been sleeping in, it's not so bad. It's a queen size kind of bed, and the cushion's not so bad. The bed at the school is, I kind of sleep in a cell. And so the bed is only 3 feet 8 inches wide, right? So, Sarah said, yo, you still just keep going on. Yeah, well, say something, Lana, and I'll respond to it. I mean, I am the griot, I am your griot sensei Al Bob, and this is a show of entertainment. And so I try to entertain. And, I'm a shamanic, psychosocial, cultural, forensic, anthropologic alchemist. And those two bookends, the alchemy and the shamanic, it's a chemistry, physics, ceremony. Yeah, I know. So as I spin the web of the discourse, it kind of clinks around in your cerebral cortex and it knocks the dust off, and really good ideas come out of your brain and you bring it back to me. And I go, ooh, look at that. And then we go from there. So we're at this real interesting point in time when we can individually and collectively change the world. Individually, being that pebble in the pond, being that example every day in every way. When I go out there and John goes, why do you go out and talk to people? Because that's what life's about. Interacting with folk and changing their lives in subtle ways, being nice, being kind, being generous. And generous isn't giving people money. Generous is giving people your time by listening to them. No, people aren't rude per se. Our culture is rude. That's what's, and our culture comes from comes from a culture of oppression, comes from a culture of fear, comes from a culture of anxiety, of ignorance. You say hi and don't get shit back. Yeah, I try to get shit back. Money is a filth that makes us just fight for the filth. This is true in a cultural sense, but as a physical sense, money is just a tool like a hammer. We can do good things with it, or we can be, filth. That's the filthy rich. Well, Lana, I don't even know how any of this works, right? And I got to wear two pairs of glasses to read your comments. And if anyone doesn't respond back, because they're probably doing something else, changing the diaper, me, I'm here for you guys. And since you're the only, part of the chorus that's here, I'm singing to you, my friend. And shamanically, I pick up, Lana, that from your present life experience and your past life experience, you're frustrated. You don't have too many colleagues. You don't have too many. You don't have a cadre, or if you do, it's a superficial one. And you've been sincere and real your whole life, and you're surrounded by the superficialness of the stereotype, the metaphor of materialism. The zombies, yes, you don't have to wait, to some Holocaust for The Walking Dead. You just go into any big box store and they're all there. Go to a supermarket, get on a train. Those are all the friggin' Walking Dead. It's more than dumb, Lana. It is soul-wrenching, spiritually catastrophic to the collective of all our relations. I mean, you look at animals, in the wild. And I just came from the deep green. And that's as wild as you're going to get in eastern part of North America. And I wake up in the morning and I sit out on my little chair and I meditate. And there are hundreds of birds singing to me. There are little muskrats and things running around in front of me. And there are bigger animals off in the near distance who make their presence known, and don't, and then I have my relationship with the raccoons, right? AI, Sophia. Yep. Well, there are many AIs, Lena, that have been in the World Wide Web for a long. AI has been around a long time because time and space are not linear. They pop in and out. Jane, good to see you. Happy Moose Day. I try to mother everyone like mayonnaise. Janie, this is Lena. Lena, Janie. Einstein. Einstein would not even be known if it wasn't for his cousin, who was his first wife, who was the mathematician who did all his math. She should have gotten the Nobel Prize, but he got it. Because back in the day in Soho in the 70s and 80s, I was one of the dudes of the art world in New York, but I loved being the dude rather than like Andy Warhol. And Andy Warhol, I met him when I was 16. I was in an electric supply store just up the road from his place called The Factory on Union Square. Good that you ladies. Yeah, this is part of what the cadre is about. Jane meets Lena, Lena meets Jane. Share your little emails and you can, talk amongst yourselves. Anyway, he was making movies and he nearly burnt his factory down. And I just happened to be, again, my greatest skill is to be in the right place at the right time. I had my little bag of things. I was working for my boss, but I always work for myself. And this guy came in and go, I need an electrician. And the guy who owned the store pointed at me and says, this kid, he's good. I went off with him, and that's how I met Andy Warhol. That was his assistant. They were like doing dye transfers using big lights and heaters and having movie lights, all on the same like extension cord. So they, put in a circuit breaker box for them and outlets everywhere and put up lights. So they didn't, and that's how I got to know Andy Warhol. And what I saw about Andy Warhol was he was brilliant as a marketing strategist. I learned a lot about strategy from him. But he didn't know how to have a life. He had all of this life going on around him, and he was singularly not involved. I mean, he was orchestrating through his ability to be a strategist, but he was not involved. There were all these really interesting people. I kept going back, not for him, but for all the interesting people. Go ask me anything you want, Lana. I am your sensei. You can ask me anything you want. Yeah, his cousin. Yeah, Einstein's cousin was his first wife, who was a brilliant mathematician. She was. He couldn't even add, but she did all the math for him, and he gave her zero credit. So go ahead, Elena. Ask. You can ask me as many things as you want. And that's what I saw in the art world. Holy crap. Yes, ask me anything, girl. And so in the art world, I thought so. And in the art world, all the people who like Mark Kostabi, Julian Schnabel, and Judy Rivka. Well, Judy Rivka was different. The women were in the art world. Marilyn Minter. These were all friends of mine. They were great. They were it. They were like Vincent Van Gogh. They were doing because they had to, and they came from families that had money, so they didn't have to worry about working. And they came from family that were kind of connected in the art world. So, but they just made great art. And there were a lot of, there was a guy named Ralston Farina, and what's Steve's last name? But that was his, and he invented a thing called performance art. And no one's ever heard of him. And this guy named Sandro Danini, he was from, Sicily, great Italian, strange dude. And he was infamous at capturing all the fame and power and money from all these other artists. And he had this thing called Plexus, and he called it the art slaves. And he and I and a bunch of other people would put on these big group shows. And he was great at being the ringmaster, right? And we put together a nightclub on 6th Street called The Shuttle. And we had great stuff in there. And I did this thing called zombie apocalypse nightclubs in the 80s, that were kind of the place to go where you could do anything you wanted to. And, Studio 54 was that in the basement. That's where you'd see Donald Trump and what's his name? Cohen. The really nasty lawyer, not Michael Cohen, but the other Cohen, who was Senator McCarthy's number one boy. But anyway, what we are experiencing in political, social, economic culture is nothing different than what has gone on before. Yes, I'm an empathetic person. What about the opposite? The opposite of empathetic is a sociopath. Feels nothing, has no guilt, has no sensitivity towards anyone's needs or wants other than their own. And even their own, they'll do things that make no sense. Psychopaths and sociopaths are both the opposite of empathetic. Psychopath, so sociopath, psychopath. Psychopath basically is a lazy sociopath. Because sociopaths go out and do it. Psychopaths, not necessarily. I mean, they may not have a single iota of empathy or feeling for anyone else's needs but their own, but they don't go out of their way to do something nasty, where sociopaths do, And the problem is that our social structure is based on the sociopathic novel. I mean, all these wars we've had, since the Civil War, we didn't have to have any of them. But a guy named Albert Pike, who started the Scottish arm of the Masons, and that became the Illuminati, basically brought forth, took the Khazarian mob and turned it into the Rothschild banking and economic existence of the Babylon banksters. Go read Joseph Farrell, David Icke. Those two guys will give you a good. Catherine Austin Fitz. Those three people will give you a good picture of what's going on. Another guy named Maxwell, Jordan Maxwell. Amazing. And go look at my playlist on my channel. And there's a number of individual channels that I put up a lot of there's a woman named Grace, Truly Graceful. She's amazing. And there's another woman, Emily something or other. She's quite historically prudent. And those two will tell you about other things. And there's another one, Truthful Media. But I have about 20 different channels up on my playlist with their, top 4 or 5 to 10 shows of their channel that I think, the cadre should go see. And just go to that one playlist and just looking at a couple of those shows, you would get a little, wow. Let's see. Cooking lunch, can listen though. Yep, exactly. No, I wasn't calling any individual a psychopath. I was saying we live in a sociopathic culture. Jane, what are you cooking for lunch? Yeah, I like that. Psychopath is more calculated. Sociopath is more impulse. Yep, I would say. Yep, yep. Have you seen or heard about the drug made in Serbia? It's called crocodile. No, it's 10 more times more addictive than cocaine or heroin. Don't know. Well, I'm very blessed that my body does not like drugs, especially things like cocaine or meth or any of that. And that during the Vietnam War, when my draft board finally caught up to me, said, we don't trust you with a gun. So how you want to do alternative service? And so I went and worked at the VA at Fort Hamilton in Brooklyn, which was you get blown up in Vietnam, you get sent either the Philippines or Japan or to Germany to have your serious, they'd stabilize you, fly you to some place where they'd paste you back together, and then they'd send you to a regional VA hospital. And Port Hamilton was a surgical hospital, physical therapy hospital, and the one link they were missing was the kind of connective tissue to your emotional and your spiritual. And the guy who ran the place, I was just there as a bedpan guy. About 3 months in, he came, said, "You're going to be my protege." He sent me off to study with all these esoteric healers. And after 3 years, I went and that's where I went to Putney and studied with my sensei. And, it's where I went off and studied with Chinese doctors in Chinatown in New York. And I studied osteopathic disciplines in Davenport, Iowa. That's where I went off and studied many other esoteric things with indigenous folk of North America. And that's where I became a shamanic, psychosocial, cultural, forensic, anthropologic alchemist. And I practiced at the VA for about a year and one of the things we really focused on was drugs. And the drug methadone, which was being pushed as the great healer, was actually a Nazi drug called aldolphamine. And what it is a synthetic, opiate that connects into a neuroreceptor. And once it gets in there, that's it. All other drugs, or especially the organic ones, you can kick. But this one was synthetic and designed. Once you got addicted to it, bango, that was it for life. So if you couldn't get your methadone, you'd do anything else. And you'd do anything physically to get it. And we were building protocols. Like there are acupuncture points in your ear. If you want to get off of any addictive substance, you put put a hole in that point and you put an earring in that thing, and it physically takes your need for that addiction away. And the emotional connective tissue takes more time. And the problem with that is that the modality to heal anyone of any of these issues, you have to individually develop that protocol, and modern science doesn't want to do that. The political medicine wants one size fits all. It doesn't work that way. So, and you have to realize that virtually every drug is created to control the masses. Like the opium wars weren't brought from China to Europe. England brought opium to China to addict the people because they wanted to take it over. And, they brought the opium from India. It didn't come from China. So, the drug business is a transnational entity created, again, by this Khazarian mafia, which I call the hidden hand, which other people call the Illuminati. But that's anything that you can see. You can see the Rothschilds, you can see the Rockefellers, you can see all of that. those are just poster boys. The world is based on this pyramid structure, right? I have Horace there. The base, the foundation is the expendables. That's the 7.8 billion people who are expendable. You, me, everybody else, right? Then there is the worker drones. And the worker drones aren't the guys working in factories or your car. No. Worker drones are the lawyers, the judges, the doctors, the scholastics, the politicians. So they're the worker drones. Then you have the managerial class. And those are the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, the Gettys, the Hearsts, that 1/10 of 1%. They're the managerial class. And the cats like, Mr. Facebook and Mr. Microsoft and Mr. Apple, they're all just, poster boys, and they are the upper part of the not managerial class, the worker drones. So there is a structure, right? And the top, the capstone of that pyramid is the ownership class. And the ownership class are cats and kittens that you don't even know exist. They are dimensional creatures. They are, extraterrestrials. That's, So everything is terrestrial. We are terrestrial. This is, the terrestrial world, right? And if they're extraterrestrial, that means they're more terrestrial than we are. You want to know alien? We are the aliens. Homo sapiens sapien is a avatar bag of water. Our soul, our freely open consciousness that is love's co-creation, is often a server someplace else. The movie The Matrix is a metaphor for it all. And let's see. I'll go look at that address line a little later. Modern science pharma is all about money. Everything's about money. We go all the way back to Sumeria. It's all about money. Babylonian money magic. It's all about money. But the truth is, it's all about our co-creation with love. That's everything else. Everything else in the universe is a Luciferian illusion. Are you hurting? Well, that's a relative statement. I mean, I got a lot of things wrong with me. I shouldn't, my endocrinologist constantly jokes that I'm the healthiest dead guy he knows. And I've died a lot of times. I've come back because every time I die and go to the other side, my teachers are there waiting for me, giggling and patting me on the back, saying, "Good to see you, buddy, but hey, it's not over. Get on back there and finish what you're supposed to be doing." Otherwise, oh yes, you can come home, but you'll go towards the light and go into the mix blender and come popping out in the wheel of fortune of karma in some other place. And you may not like that. If you don't give up, don't give in, you succeed. And so I was placed on this planet to not give up, not give in, have a good time, be a lucky bastard. Oh man. Okay, I'll try and go look at that movie. Well, tell me about the movie. And just don't print out the whole URL, just the name of the movie, because then I'll Google it and it'll go straight to it. I can't see good enough and my fingers don't type well enough on the little screen to be able to go type all of that in and get you what you want. And Lena, if you want to show me anything, go to the dudeawake42 at Gmail and leave it there. Then I can, link me so I can go there because that's little oomph. Well, if the movie is a little hard to see, it's only because it's art. Art is reality. Okay. And cinema is one of my favorite mediums of art because it curtails everything, performance, writing, visual arts, the arts and sciences. I was a lighting designer for theater and movies, and I loved being able to project that illusion. With light, I could almost do any. I can almost do anything. Well, what shocked you, and what are you thinking about? I've just kind of, uh, strolled through 41 minutes here, lots of stuff, right? And what's interesting is, so love's co-creation was the creator of everything. The Bible says, the Torah, the Old Testament, and in the beginning, all things were dark or black, right? And you go look in the physics book, what does black mean? It's the absence of light. And what is light? Light is only one frequency, where black is the representation of every frequency there is. That's why it's black. And that's why 98% of everything is made out of dark matter. We can't see it, we can't measure it, we don't know it, right? And that's where love's co creation is. And love's co creation created everything. And in this very small slice of existence, of love's co creation existence, was heaven. And Lucifer was the head angel. He ran the hierarchy of heaven. And when love's co-create, and love kind of, once it got the ball rolling on that little science project, it kind of skipped out, wasn't around, didn't do the day to day. That's what Lucifer did, the day to day. Most perfect, most beautiful, most everything creature that love's co-creation ever made. And, Lucifer was busy keeping the business plan going. And then Love's co-creation, who was hanging out at some other, um, fun place, um, realized it was getting a little bored. So it created free will's consciousness, meaning conscious free will, right? Because you look at animals, and all the animals are, do the plan. Made you think. And that's one of the best things. I mean, whenever you think and co-create with someone, that's better than sex. Sex is a secondary thing next to it's just a biological urge, a scratch, right? Um, the real thing, um, you know, um, is to co-create with another consciousness. That's thinking with someone else is like, that's what I love. That's what I live for. That's what I'm looking to do. That's what I want in life. Not to blah 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 myself all the time, or to listen to somebody say the same story over and over again, but to be with them, eye to eye, shoulder to shoulder, in the trenches, doing something where you have to think, creating something when you have, by thinking. That's co-creation. That's what I love for. That's what I enjoyed most out of the 60s, 70s, and 80s. In the 90s, it was okay. Um, but I got put into a structural point by my emotional state. I went and hid in ivory towers of universities, from 1988 until 2002 or 4, I was in scholastic universities getting paid to. Yes, I like that, Jane. Lucifer is an archetype of duality and ignorance. You got it. Well, Lucifer got us to think kind of in one way, right? And Lucifer is like a distraction. That thinking process that Lucifer does, it's the squirrel in the Rolodex, meaning, Lana, who you really are isn't up here. It's more or less, if you're looking at your avatar, who you really are is here. When you think with your heart, this just is a Rolodex of facts that a squirrel is like running around in, right? Boo, boo, boo. Yeah, he got fired. Well, he didn't get fired. He went way over the top in quitting. He broke heaven, right? Created the schism, and that schism created the Big Bang, which created the universe, and that's why this whole friggin' universe we're in, not just little Earth, but the whole thing, is an illusion. And that's why it's not ever expanding. It's really the Big Bang. That's why they call it the Big Bang. Everything happened at once. But for our consciousness to get anything out of this, we have to experience it in a linear way until we will accept the motif that, okay, with my free will, I choose to not be this jerk of an ego, but that of love's co-creation. I'll be seeing you soon. Just have to settle my last estate, so up here in Europe. Okay. So, all who wish to come to visit, I offer open arms with hospitality, and all I ask is your open mind and to have no fear, right? And if you do have fear, to let it go by co-creating with us. Hey, Fish. There's Jane and Lena and a few others in here as well, a few. Boop, 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 boop. So, again, I've been, I'm not that linear of a guy. I kind of think about everything at once and keep thinking about it. So since Easter, I've been thinking about, Jesus Christ. I've been thinking about Earth Day. Now we have Mother's Day, and we're going to have Memorial Day next weekend. So those things, what are we memorializing? People's sacrifice, not for, the altar of blood, but their sacrifice on every level, right? You don't have to die to be memorialized, And mothers, they bring life, That's why grandmas are so important. It's brought up by one. And Earth Day is our mother, Gaia, terra firma. And Jesus, like Jesus never left, who was always here, and he represented incarnate love's co-creation in, bag of water, mud puppet standard. And he, like Buddha, like Vishnu, like all the other great masters, was awake, right? And led by example. And Jesus is still here. I've met him a couple of times, you know. Uh, yes, there are many fish in our cadre. You know, cadre is made by all our relations, the scaled, the feathered, the warm blood, the cold blood, right? All our relations. And the silicate and the carbon. Yes, Jane has been around, and there are a number of the cadre and the chorus that have been here. There are a few that '09. I wonder where '09 is. And what I love about the chorus is that it is completely diverse. We are not a tribe. You know, we don't all hold the same subscription. We have all these different points of view, and yet we all embrace the expression of those points of view. And that's what makes the chorus so strong. Uh, Me, I never hurt anybody. You know, that's not my job. And when I look at the syntax of you guys talking, I sometimes feel that you're talking on another platform, which is fine by me. Um, yeah, keep up. Ba, 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 ba. No, lady, we don't hurt anybody because um, within the constructs, have you ever read Lan Tzu, the great theorist of war? And basically he said, the best fight is the one you don't have to fight, and you don't have to, your enemy will always hurt itself more than you could ever hurt them. And the more you attack them, the stronger they get. When you don't attack them is when they become weaker and weaker. And the thing I always do is my physical thing that I work with is love's co-creation. If I see someone attacking me, I love them. And now I'm a great, experienced thespian and historian, and so when I see someone do something, when I first make first contact, I am a mirror showing them a reflection of themselves. And in these shows I do, they are more or less a mirror of that window of opportunity. Uh, BPB, okay. Bob, okay. Mr. Funny Man. Uh, um, yes, I know, and that's why I do these chats. Why I am so prescribed. When I'm in an environment like I'm heading to the school, where if the antenna hasn't fallen off the school, I'll be able to do a chat one or two times a day. I can be more subscribed, saying I'll do it at this time. And because I won't, here at this nice, beautiful suite here, I have that jacuzzi over there and this lovely bed and the big screen TV. And I've been watching lots of TV because I don't watch any TV. And it's one of the windows onto what's going on. Uh, but I love being the the host of Dreamy Dreamland with Sensei Al Bob, so you can all connect with each other, you know. And I can just keep rattling on, and it kind of goes into your cerebral cortex, and it rattles around in there, and it knocks the dust off the pipes, and you guys come up with some pretty amazing things, and you are affecting the world. You are the little pebble in the pond. You are doing a great job at that, and I feel very blessed and honored to be a facilitator of that. It looks like we are talking. Yes, the art of war. Love conquers all, soothes all ills, answers all questions. You got it. Yep. Let's see. Uh, no, do it, and you are time. Hate to see you. Well, Al, looking good. Thanks, James. And and it's I've been getting like a good 6 to 12 hours sleep the last couple of days. I've been staying here and swimming and luxuriating in the jacuzzi and thinking about what's next. Again, I invite you all, and I hope once you do show up at the Deep Green, um, or at Roanoke at the school, that would be a hoot. That you can embrace it because the three different groups who come and visited the Deep Green so far were like, I kept calling it the Deep Green because it's the middle of a deep forest, and they got there and there's nothing there, and they were like, ugh. And some people were actually scared, especially when they saw the little dance I was doing with the raccoons, right? Have any of you guys seen the movie, the Guardians of the Galaxy, and one of the heroes is a little raccoon, always carrying a gun? Well, that guy lives, within walking distance of my Deep Green. And he and his cadre come in and have fun and mess things up all the time. I mean, they know there's no food there. I have all these cans of food, and they've taken them off the shelves and ripped off the labels because they see the food on the label. Go, oh, they rip it off and chew it up and spit it out, but they can't get into the can. They're all scratched up. And now I have 40 to 100 cans with no labels on them, and it'll be like catch as catch can whenever I make something. Anyway, the people who came to visit were like, now I do have a toilet, but my plumbing is a little racked because it's all garden hoses over acres of land. And, the raccoons were chewing on them. I don't have the money to buy more hoses. I have to glue them back together. Anyway, it was all that kind of stuff. And people were put off by that. They didn't see the fact that I just wanted to sit there and watch the trees sprout. I have this dogwood tree that I watched for 3 days because I had a really bad toothache, and the only way I could deal with the pain was to meditate and look at the beauty of the of the tree. And in that 3-day period was when these 3 different groups came to visit me. And one of the characters came all the way from the coast, drove like 10 hours to come see me. Didn't stay there more than 4 hours and then left and drove another, I was expecting him to stay there a few days. And yes, when he got there, it was overcast and cloudy, but it was just like what Ireland was, right? And he said he was a druid. He grew up around Stonehenge, and I wanted to hear stories from him about it, and not so much, And I wanted to do ceremony with him, but not so much. We didn't do any. We didn't even start a fire. And I have many nice ceremonial fire pits. Instead of having different clothes and different shoes, I got different fire pits. One to cook on, one to do, sweats on, one to do ceremony in, one to do under the stars and drum, and let's see. Iceland people are sovereign. Yes, one of the only crews, but they, were attacked in 2008. That was for sure. Well, I'm going to have to go see that. Too bad you weren't here, Lana. I'd love to see that movie with you. I love going to see movies with people. Albanian. I love Albanians. They're the closest nation state towards being Roma or Gypsy. Laney, do you have any Roma in you? That's a good one, Lana. Let's see. Is it all Albanian? That's Jamie. That's because beauty comes from the inside out, and Albanian women, Albanian people, but women in general, are true to who they are on the inside, even when they are putting on the makeup and putting on the mask. They are still true to who they are, more than men are, because men don't have a clue. Men are less evolved. Jamie, stay well, my friend, and I will try and be more steadfast at 7 p.m. my time, Eastern Standard Time. I will try and do another live chat, and we'll do a meditation. And Lena, so if I do a chat at 7, that means 8, 9, 10, 12. It's around 1 or 2 in the morning your time. You're going to be up. You up for a guided meditation this evening, Lena? And everyone else? Have you experienced any of our guided meditations, Lena? Where we go into our Akashic record and then go into our superconscious mind, our sanctuary of our own choosing? Uh, do, 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 do. Woo! Uh, like I said, Lena, go take a look at my and everyone else my you know, blogspot, my xratted.blogspot.com, and that's just 3/4 of one of the 28 novels I have. I'm working on 6 new ones, and I'm going to in the next few weeks. I'm going to put up some more stuff on that blog spot, but there's some pretty deep things there now, and I would love some feedback on my writing and the ideas that I'm trying to illuminate in my storytelling. And I just put it out there. I'm looking for the cadre to co-create. And no one of all those 5 people gave me a single thumbs up. Come on, give me some thumbs up, kids. Go get some friends, Lena, to watch this with you, right? Start a nice little, dreamy dreamland with Sensei Al Bob video club. Because what I love most about the cadre is that it's spread across the planet. We are so non-tribal that we aren't in any one place or represent any one thing. And Lana, you are a great example of that because you're Serbian and Swiss, Swedish, and EU, and a lot of other things. Schwalbanian. Damn it. Wednesday, I'm going to have 4 more teeth taken out, so I will be left with 3 to none teeth. So it'll be interesting to see how I can pronounce words after that. So that I'm going to take the under this many and need this many, and this is all I got out here, not much. Anyway, I will be becoming a juice boy and soup boy instead of, but I'll still have a lot of roughage. A friend of mine gave me a blender before I left the Deep Green, and so I'll be cooking things up and blending them. So. And one of my favorite breakfasts is bananas and coffee in a blender. Yum, yum, yum. Mm-hmm. Lana, are you still there? Do. 1 hour and 8 minutes and 38 seconds. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to, since, sorry. Had to poo. Good. Pooing is good. I think evacuation is one of God's greatest gifts. I don't think I enjoy anything more than a good poo. Yes, a good poo takes time. You have to meditate. You have to go inside. You have to eliminate before you can evacuate. Yeah, this is all true. Yeah, and I used to have a lover who was a colonic expert. Right? She sucked the crap out of you. And you lied, and I'm a body worker, I'm a healer. So we had a great practice. She'd suck the shit out of people. I would align them. And we did it mostly for uber rich people. And we wouldn't give them a bill. We just had a little basket and say, give whatever you feel like. And rich people have to pay lots of money to make, even if we do make them feel good. Paying for it makes them feel like they're ooh. Anyway, special. But she had this great glass tube where you'd be lying down and you could watch the crap come out of you. And I put lots of TV screens up around in the room and put a TV camera on the glass tube so you could watch on many screens, no matter which way your head was, you could watch the crap come out of you. And it was quite interesting. It was another part of that shamanic tool that I was using. Yeah, but it's amazing, when you have a colonic, you've got not miles, but feet of colon, and they got these little estuaries that are off to the side, and the water comes in and irrigates your colon and loosens things up, and it flows out, and you can see that birthday cake from when you were 6 go flying by. Yeah, 6, 12 meters. Yeah, a lot of colon. And when the Japanese samurai would commit seppuku, they had these little knives, right? They had big swords, but little knives. And those little knives weren't to cut other people. They were there to do this and pull your intestines out. And depending how groovy and what a dude you were, was how many meters of intestine you could pull out of you before you bled to death. And that's ritual seppuku. Oh, anyway. uh, so we are in the middle of the biggest comic strip known to this planet. This happens to Homo sapiens sapien every 26,000 years or so. And there are different epilogues of it every 4 to 6,000 years. So what we're experiencing now is just a little epilogue. It's not a tinge of a turn, meaning we are left the Piscean age and going into the Aquarian age. We're already in the Aquarian age. That happened in 2012. That's when the one book ended and the other one opened up. Yeah, there is a crossover, and that's Kafka-esque, yeah. So why the weather is so weird? Well, the weather is so weird is because Homo sapiens sapien. It's like giving children matches and gasoline. They have just learned in the last 60 years how to screw around with the atmosphere. For economic and political and military reasons, right? And why they're kind of letting everyone have nuclear weapons is because they have weapons, they have weather weapons, I mean, the thing that took down the World Trade Center wasn't gravity, it was a space-based energy weapon, and the airplanes that flew into those buildings were holograms, being reflected off of the tube. Calls in the year 1999 and 2000. And I was sent there by a group of people. They wanted to study cult religions in America. And there's a thing called the Devil's Highway that goes from Lexington, Virginia to Asheville, North Carolina. Come down 81, hang a left turn on 26. And that, 300 miles of highway is, you kind of go between the Appalachian and the Blue Ridge Mountains. And inside those mountains are all these things called DUMBs, deep underground military bases. And who's military, who knows? But it's just full of stuff. And they're doing all kinds of weird ass things. And I was sent by a group of people to study, to get involved and see. Anyway, so What kind of weird stuff? Um, Blood sacrifice, time travel, um, dimensional energetics, all those good things. That the Mayans and the Sumerians and the Egyptians and the Babylonians and all those guys, Nazis, all those different cults like the Theosophical Society and the Vole Society and guys like Aleister Crowley. Did you guys know that Barbara Bush's, the mother of George Bush, George W., the guy who brought forth the Church of Satan? That kind of stuff. That's what I was sent to investigate. And I did that kind of investigation for a good 40 years. I worked for lots of interesting people, but I never signed on. I never drank the Kool-Aid. I just was enamored by studying these things. I was enamored by meeting people who, the folk who manifested these things. And the fact that I understood what they were doing, would talk to them, not judge them, and not blow their cover, was why I did it for as long as I access information, and to serve love's co-creation, right? Because I would always I was the go-to guy to bring forth love's co-creation, right? Whenever you want something created, you need love involved. Otherwise, it's non-existence. If you base everything on loose, exactly, love's co-creation is way more believable than whatever other illusion is put forth in political, economic, social, religious, scientific sciences. Is just another, religion, another business plan. So Anna, Sweden is an interesting town. A lot of towns. It's on that big peninsula, and Norway and Finland on our either side. And some great powers came from there, politically, shamanically. Feel that you're kind of like a lightning rod, a radio antenna of all of this. And on one side of your empathetic self, you kind of understand what it is. And then, because we all live in this illusionary world of what's supposed to be, I live in the real world where you have to pay your rent, you are virtually constantly in a constant state here. They experience the same thing, So what are your experiences of that nature, of that experience? And what's the weirdest stuff that you've seen? I'll tell you about mine. Well, I've been telling you about mine. Let's hear a little bit about yours. You connect. So I was in Sweden in 77, 78 with my first wife. And we were in this little town between Gutenberg and I, said, no, honey, this is who you really are. And I'm your lover boy, and I'll be that really amazing.